Welcome back, amazing business owners, to another episode of Business Straight Up, the podcast for small business help, creative business help, photographer business help, all of the above. Today's guest is amazing, and I can't wait for you to hear what she has to say. I'm just going to share, you can see my notes. Yes, I take a lot of notes during these. If your one-liner fits any industry, it isn't specific enough. Oh my gosh, we're going to talk about what goes into your marketing, what to say in your marketing, how to know what to include in your marketing. How do you even find out what people want to hear and what resonates with them? Today's guest is Sarah Braud of Braud Creative. I apologize, I pronounced it incorrectly in the episode. However, she's amazing. And we're going to talk all about marketing, what to include in your marketing, what the goal is in your marketing, and how do you get people to actually listen in. And when you only have a very limited space, how do you know what to fit when it comes to one-liners, headliners, or headlines, taglines, all the things. So today is my second video podcast episode. So if you're watching this on YouTube, give me a little bit of grace. I like to write stuff down, so you'll see me looking down a lot. But I am so excited to have you here. Thank you for pressing play and including me in your day just a little bit. If you love this episode or any of the episodes or all of the episodes, if you can head over to iTunes and leave a review, I would so appreciate that. I know it seems small, but it's a big deal for podcasters so that we know how we can help you. I want to know exactly what you need help with. Your gift that you have is amazing, and your business can grow exponentially when you learn to harness that gift. And I want to know how to better help you do that. So head on over to iTunes, leave a review. Let me know if you loved it, and I have a free gift for you. So listen after the episode for how to get that free gift. And I'm excited for today's episode. Let's dive right in. Hey there, awesome people. I am Brooke Summer, and you are listening to Business Straight Up, the podcast for creative entrepreneurs to learn, connect, grow, and build the business and life that they dream of. Welcome. Let's get going and dive right in. Hello, amazing business owners. Welcome back. This is my second video podcast ever, and I'm so excited. I do want to ask for a little bit of grace when it comes to video, first of all, because it will look like I'm looking away a lot because I take notes with my pretty pens, and I swear I'm totally here and engaged. I just have a little bit of ADD, so kind of all over the place. You can't hide that as much with video, right? But I'm so excited to have you here today and to welcome today's guest, who specializes in working through the story behind your business and how it fits into your marketing and your messaging. She is a story wizard. What's the female wizard? I don't know. Interesting. So this is how my brain works. And I am thrilled to have her on the show, the amazing Sarah Braud with Braud Creative. Thank you so much for being here today, Sarah.
Thank you for having me.
I know that I have a little bit of background, but I know our listeners would love to know more about you. What has your journey been like through your business to get to where you are? And what have you learned and picked up along the way?
Oh, wow. That's big. So I started off in education, and I taught English to international students and refugees. And I did that for about 15 years.
Oh, wow.
And then once my kids got to a certain age where they were demanding my emotional attention, I decided that teaching and parenting were not working. So I actually went back to school and got my master's in creative writing, and then realized very quickly that creative writing pays about $30 a year. And so I had to pivot and use those skills in a way that would make some income.
Yes.
And so then I began doing blogging and book editing and social media. And I co-founded a company called Social Marmalade. and we did social media marketing. And then we were acquired by another business. And then I worked there for 2 years in their digital marketing arm, and then went out and went into consultation on my own.
Nice. I love that you're able to get your degree in creative marketing or creative writing and then be like, okay, well, this isn't going to work this way. How can I do it in another way? I
Yeah,
think so many people get so stuck on one thing and they're like, this is what I'm going to do. This is where I'm going to go. And then when it doesn't work, they get so discouraged instead of
yeah.
pivoting to figure it out.
Well, and I think that's particularly the case with creative entrepreneurs
Mm,
and anyone in the creative industry. And there is a really fine balance between selling out and just selling your goods. So,
right? Oh
yeah,
my gosh. Do you ever hear someone like kind of attack a creative for selling out? And you're like, dude, they're making a paycheck.
yeah. I mean, most sellouts are waiting tables. I mean, non-sellouts are waiting
Right.
tables while
Right.
they create their art. So
Right.
I, you know, I kind of
Yes.
push back on that a little bit.
My husband is a musician as well. And
Yeah.
so, like,
No.
he'll hear that. Now, he doesn't work as a musician, but you hear that, especially in music, like, oh, they're such a sellout. And I'm like, because they're making a living? I don't know why that makes someone a
They're
sellout.
supporting their family. But I mean, I'm
Right.
in Nashville, so there are quite a
Oh,
working, musicians. So
yes.
there is a challenge on the other side for sure.
Yes. I
As they would say,
remember,
you don't have a plan B. If you have a plan B, you're going to go that way.
right? Yeah.
So, you know,
It's hard.
there's, yeah.
I remember someone in a photography group. So my primary business is photography, and someone in a photography group basically said that I wasn't an artist because I made a full-time living on what I did. And I'm like, why do we celebrate artists after they die?
Yeah, it's a great question. My husband's a photographer as well. And,
Oh,
he has to, and I think this is just every creative's balance of you do the things that inspire you. And, if you can do it 50% of the time, I think you're doing great,
yes.
so then the other 50% you have to, do what the people want.
Yes, absolutely. So let's talk about kind of like story related, but kind of not. Let's talk about Enneagram. So,
Oh,
first
yeah.
of all, what the heck is it? And where can someone learn more about it and like their type? And how does it really fit into business?
So I love the Enneagram and I love talking Enneagram. I am not an expert, but I am definitely a hobbyist when it comes to the Enneagram. And one of my friends is a Enneagram coach, so she would make sure I would say that I am not an expert on it. But
I understand.
the Enneagram, it actually means Ennea is 9 in Greek. And then gram is word or symbol. So it's 9 symbols or types. So it actually was developed by the ancient church fathers. And it was a way to help guide people on their spiritual journeys.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really divided into these 9 passions or what, current Christianity would call sins. And it just shows what your core motivations are
Mm-hmm.
and how you're trying to get love and how you basically function in the world, what character strategies you've come up with to function in the world. So really what's amazing about the Enneagram that's different than other personality types is that personality types just type you as one thing and
Mm-hmm.
you remain that thing. The Enneagram, the whole goal is that you would be transformed and that you would access other types on there is a 9-point star and each type goes to different types. And so it really shows you where your weaknesses are, where your strengths are, and where you really should grow.
Yes. And one thing I like about that too, that when you said they just type you as one thing. So let's take other personality. I mean, there's so many of them. Myers-Briggs,
Yes.
the ones that are colors. There's a
Yeah.
whole bunch of them, but I think part of the danger of that too is that you learn that you are this and you latch on to that and there is no deviating and you just hold on to that like it's your identity.
Yeah.
And Enneagram kind of has those, what do they call them? Wings?
Yeah. You have
Or,
wings, and then you have the like a tri-type.
yes.
So it divides you into three categories, and it's
Mhm.
whether or not you're a gut or body person, or you lead with your mind, or you lead with your emotions. And so each type, say if you're typed as a one, you would also have access to. So a one is from the body type, and they
Okay.
lead with their body.
Mhm.
And that's like people who do first. And so it's people who do first, and then people who think first, and then people who feel first. And
Okay.
and so, a one would go to a thinking number and also a feeling number, and that would help them see where their points of growth are.
Do you think that for most business owners, when they're working through and looking at their ideal client, like the person that they most want to work with, would they likely appeal to just a few types or are they going to look at more variety? Is it more varied than that?
Um, I mean, if you look at stats, most of American business leaders fit into three main types,
What types are those?
and even
Sorry.
two specific types. CEOs are generally eights or threes,
Ah,
and so those eights and threes and sevens are considered the assertive stance. So I'm going way too deep here, but
yes.
it's people who are um, basically very self-assured, super confident. It can also be called the aggressive stance. And so it's people who really take charge and are super productive people.
Interesting. It's so funny because I'm a weirdo with Enneagram. I have a three-way tie
Okay.
between three different kinds, and two of them that you mentioned are mine, two of mine,
Oh,
um, which
okay.
is so weird.
Yeah.
But when someone, like as a business owner, should I be thinking more about my own Enneagram type or my ideal clients? Like, how can I start to mold my business around that so that I know, hey, my ideal client thinks this way. Maybe I should change my marketing and my messaging to fit that.
Yeah, I would say yes, and both.
Okay.
I mean, when it comes to your clients, I would say if your target market is business leaders,
Hmm.
then you would want to, tailor your marketing to be a message that would resonate with an eight or a three.
Hmm.
And you will hit more business leaders with that type of marketing messaging. And those numbers come from a place of strength, and they want strength in return, so that they feel safe. And so you don't want to come across wishy-washy or feel good. Warm fuzzies don't appeal to eights and threes. They just want to get right down to it and want to know that they're dealing with strength. So, however, if it's the general public that you are trying to connect with, I believe the statistics are that most Americans fall into the six.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And so the six is a loyalist, and has a lot, and their core passion or sin is fear. And so um, if you see a lot of commercials very much play on this, where they target your fears and amplify
Mhm.
your fears or insecurities about the world.
Interesting, because I know that I actually teach a course on website strategy, and we talk a lot about addressing someone's fears, but we also talk about that fine line. Like, you don't want to be fear mongering, but you do want to address that people have these fears, right? And I never thought about how it relates to that type.
Yeah. And really, it's, you could call it fear mongering, or you could call it like being aware of their personal pain points that they walk around with all day. And
Yes.
so you're not giving them something to fear so much as you're amplifying what's already happening inside them.
Okay.
And reminding them that is something that they are trying to overcome.
Yes.
So it's giving them a on-ramp into your messaging.
Yes.
Because they come to you with fears.
Well, and a reminder that they can overcome it.
Yeah.
Because I think so many of us will just get stuck in that fear. I remember Elizabeth Gilbert, I feel like I quote this a lot, but she said, fear gets a voice, but it does not get a vote. So we hear that voice over and over again, and instead we let it direct our lives, and to remind our ideal clients that you can overcome it. I can help. Here's what I can do.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy important. I love, it's so funny. I'm like reading my notes and I'm writing down more notes. I love the idea that we can learn more about our ideal clients on a deeper level instead of just, it really drives me crazy when people talk about, you need to know your ideal client. Where do they shop? What do they read? And I'm like, no.
Yeah. And that's the first level. That's external pain points. I would say the Enneagram is great at helping you understand their internal pain points. You know, how those things, like where people shop, makes them feel.
Yes.
You know, they don't want to feel different or left out, or
like, why do they shop there? Why do they? Yes.
And then underneath that is the philosophical or spiritual level of what it is they fear.
Yes.
And, you know, I think a 6 particularly fears that that they don't belong, and that, you know, life is really an insecure place, and they really need to latch on to security, you know, or authority to feel like they're going to survive.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, there's so many uses of the Enneagram, and really we all kind of identify with all 9 types on some level. And so, you know, like Apple, they market to what I would call the 4s, the individualist, or a 5, which is the investigator. And so, you know, they're like, you're different. You're one of the cool kids. You think outside of the box. You're innovative, you know, and we all, even though we're not all 4s and 5s, we all resonate with that internal longing to be that person. So, you know, it's not wrong to market to all the numbers or any specific number.
Right. Well, and ultimately, so many people are afraid to niche down, but that brings your messaging to such a point that you can really speak to the people that you want to speak to, instead of just hoping that when you scream, everyone can hear you. And it's really hard to be heard in the masses instead of just speaking directly to someone.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
What if you didn't have to worry about writing emails to your list for the next 6 months and maybe even a year? Yes, it's true. It's finally here. My students have been asking me for this for years, and I have heard you, and these templates are finally available. Engaging Emails Done is a quick workshop and template bundle to help you harness the power of email marketing to grow your business. You can set it and forget it and actually book more clients. If you're like, Brooke, I am so in. Where do I grab these? Head on over to businessstraightedup.com/emailsdone to grab this special limited bundle. If you want to hear a little more, I feel you. I like details too. These templates are designed to be done for you to set up several months of emails in just an hour. Plus, I've recorded several how-to videos to walk you through the technical steps for several different email service providers if you're not sure how to customize and schedule them. Engaging Emails Done has not only a quickie email marketing 101 how-to if you're starting from scratch, but it includes a minimum of 12 email templates that you can schedule ahead of time to take something off of that never-ending to-do list so you can focus on what you love most. Side note, I did say a minimum of 12 because I keep thinking of things to add, so you might even get more than 12. These are brand new. I've never offered something like this before. So grab your email templates plus Email Marketing 101 plus tech tutorials before the price goes up. Grab these templates, tutorials, and help all at businessstraightup.com/emails done. Again, that's businessstraightup.com/emails done. I love this. I know that storytelling in business is one of your superpowers. And I also know that it's something that my students really struggle with. What are some best practices for figuring out those key stories that will really resonate with ideal clients instead of just talking and talking and talking and having those stories fall on deaf ears?
Well, I would say your last guest nailed it. I can't remember his name.
Nick.
Nick, yes.
Yes.
He was so great. And he is a storytelling genius. But yeah, his main tip was your customer is the hero of the story. And you're telling their story, you're not telling your own. And so I think most businesses, if they haven't been intentional about their storytelling, fall back into making themselves the hero of the story, which then puts you in direct competition with all of your clients because everyone is the hero of their own story. And so we're all walking around living our hero's journey. Mm-hmm. And you can either become a, supporting actor in that hero's journey, or you can be in competition for the spotlight. So
yes. And that's also from, I know, a book that you had talked about, Donald Miller's Story Brand.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. I am an audiobook girl. Like, I don't love to hold, I think it's because of my hands and my arthritis, but I don't like to hold the book. So I listen to the book, but there are very few that I will buy both the hard copy and listen. And that is one of them. And he even says in the beginning, I'm about to ruin all movies for you. And he totally does.
Yeah.
But that's why, right? Because it's a hero's journey. And you think of all your favorite movies and they all fit that category.
Yeah. It's there is a very specific framework for stories that, like Nick said, we've been telling these stories since, creation, mm-hmm. And we speak to one another and we share information using stories. And really our brain is at rest when we're hearing stories, which is why even an ADD person can sit through a movie without being distracted. They can, well, I mean, I take that back because my children cannot sit through a movie. But they're, but yeah, so I think our brains are hardwired to rest during stories.
That's really interesting to me because I've always, I'm pretty sure I have undiagnosed ADD, but I love movies. We were at the movie theaters all the time because it's the one place that my brain, I can just relax and I can just watch a movie. Interesting. I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
So how can someone engage their clients that way then?
Well, by engaging their clients, you use these storytelling devices that include, just your basic elements of the story. What your hero wants is the beginning of the story. And then the obstacles that come in place, that keep your main character from getting what they want, which is all of our lives. And then you can introduce yourself as the guide to the hero and give them reasons to trust you, or give them empathy, show them empathy for you understand their journey. You've been there, and this is how you've overcome it. So, really telling their story, casting a vision for what transformation looks like because every good story shows real transformation. And that's when we cry, is when we see somebody transform. That's kind of like that emotional trigger for us.
I feel like so many, especially in creatives, because I work specifically with creative business owners,
Yeah.
they have this idea that their art or whatever it is they do, their jewelry, their chocolate, whatever, is not transformative. That they're like, it's not life changing. And I even fall into that myself too. Like, what I do isn't really life changing, but it really can be. How
Ab-
do we kind of embrace that?
I mean, I would say, American culture in general values productivity over
Hmm.
all else. And so we're fighting a battle, upstream.
Yeah.
We're swimming upstream if we're being creatives. Um, but I would think that, really understanding that art is a sacred event or a
Mm.
sacred work. And, just like movies have metaphors or symbols that help us, that guide us along the way to help us understand things.
Hmm.
Um, Art is a metaphor that helps us understand or shines light on parts of our lives that we don't understand or don't naturally see or embrace. And
And that
so,
can be hard too.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Interesting.
one of my favorite quotes, and I wish I knew who said it, but the goal of art is to comfort the afflicted and to afflict the comforted.
Comfort
So,
the. Okay, wait. Can you say that again? I'm going to write it
yeah,
down.
art's goal is to comfort the
Hmm.
afflicted. So, if someone is suffering, art can be a balm to them. If it's
Yeah.
honest art. And then, but then you look at the people who are comfortable with the status quo,
Yeah.
and they're not transforming, then art's goal is to afflict them. So to afflict the comfortable.
That's really interesting because I see that so often, like, especially in our current political climate and everything that's happening. So many of the things that you'll see that kind of make you uncomfortable are the cartoons and the drawings.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And that is art that's doing sacred work, because what's more sacred than transformation and for becoming, no matter what your faith tradition is, we're all on a journey to be transformed. And art is a huge vehicle for doing that. And so I would say that it is very transformative, because if it makes you uncomfortable, then you're forced to look at something that you haven't wanted to look at.
Yes. And then you're forced to think of the why behind that. Why are you uncomfortable looking
Yeah,
at that?
yeah,
Why does it cause a problem for you? Yes.
yeah.
Absolutely. I love that. That's so, and it's funny when like the pandemic hit and the quarantine, all of us turned to art.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're watching movies. We're
Yes,
now listening to music. We're now deciding we want to play the ukulele and looking on YouTube. Like, we're all turning to art because we don't know what the hell else to do.
exactly.
We're stuck and we've had so many things taken away from us that now we're moving towards something else in our lives. And I think a lot of times as artists, we forget how important that is for the world.
Yeah. And really, learning that being in the moment really is all we have, because we don't know what the future holds.
Yes.
The pandemic is reminding us that we don't know what next quarter is going to, like, there's no projecting next quarter. I mean,
Right.
there are plenty of people that are projecting what next quarter is.
Well, yeah.
But, at the beginning of the pandemic, who could predict what was going to happen? And, I
Right.
think um, that forces you to remember that really all we have is this moment. And
Yes,
art does that same thing. It pulls us into the moment.
it
And
does.
that again is a sacred work.
It does. And I think for anyone who's not necessarily artistic listening to this, my son actually struggles with this. He's a science aviation guy. But when he's building his planes, there's still art in that too. Like we forget that all of these things that are designed, they
Yeah,
come from somewhere. These
yeah,
buildings that are designed, even the engines that are running these things, someone had to say, this piece goes here.
yeah, absolutely. It's creation. It's making something new,
Yes.
and that is creative. That's creative.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So stories are amazing. And I always tell my students it's so funny in email marketing and all of this. Some of my most read and most opened stories have been the ones that I thought were crazy to share. Like, why would anyone want to know this about me? But you know what? What the hell? We're going for it.
Yeah, yeah.
But what about the times that you don't have a ton of space for stories? So you need a quick headline or a one-liner or a tagline. What
Mhm.
are some tools to figure out what to say in those instances?
I mean, I think that you could have a 6-word story. I mean,
Ooh.
there's a Twitter account called, oh, I want to say 6-word story, but I'm not sure, or six something. I'll have to send it to you so you can share it with your
Yes.
listeners. But yeah, so all these writers write in and they give you a prompt at the beginning of the day, and you write a 6-word story.
That's hard.
Oh, it's so hard. And it's funny. People think that writing marketing is easy because it's really short. It's a headliner. But really condensing story into these small, repeatable phrases
Mhm.
can be super powerful and requires a ton of work.
Oh my gosh, that would be really hard to do. How I'm trying to like think of my two businesses and how the hell would I condense that into 6 words?
Well, I mean, obviously, you don't have to do it in 6 words, but
Well, yeah. But
I would say think um, problem, solution, result. So, pain, what obstacle someone's facing, what the guide to the hero is offering, and you're the guide,
okay.
um, and what the transformation that is going to come. Um, because of what you offer.
Yes.
So the problem is, I'm doing this diet right now. So my problem is that I am pre-diabetic. Okay, so that's the problem. So you're pre-diabetic. If
Hmm.
you try this um, weight loss plan, you will not only lose weight, you will experience a new way to live and honor your body.
Yes.
So
Interesting.
that's a really quick way. So it's problem, solution, transformation.
Yes. And a lot of times we tend to think of, so let's use the example of losing weight. Like everyone thinks, well, it's just to look good. But people forget all of the underlying reasons that someone might want to have that transformation and how they can impact someone in a specific way to help them through to the end goal, which I mean, losing weight is going to be the end goal, whether it's because you want to look good or be stronger or whatever.
Right.
But how can you effectively communicate and impact someone who maybe doesn't have the same reason for that end goal?
Yeah. I mean, I think that we may not understand our deeper motivation. I
Hmm.
mean, say our motive is to look good at our high school reunion.
Hmm.
Um, Really, though, the reason why we're overweight or we're overeating goes way deeper than that. And so typically it's because we are not satisfied with life, and we go to food, or we're not moving enough because there are deeper reasons and origins of these habits that were formed, so that if you target that deeper level, that deeper pain point, whether you're using, your weight to protect you from something,
Mm,
because something bad happened to you in the past, or
yes.
you haven't learned how to deal with your emotions, so you are comforting yourself. So really speaking to that deeper level of obstacle or pain point actually is way more effective than
Yes.
just saying, oh, so you want to lose weight for this,
Right. Yeah.
but if you think, oh gosh, somebody is going to actually heal me and change the way I address food or look at my body,
Yes.
then, that's a marketing campaign.
Yes. And finding that deeper why, it's so funny. Whenever I went to go teach a workshop and several of my students, I told them up front, hey, I'm teaching this. What are some things you wish you would have known? And they said, don't make them cry. Because I tend to make people cry, not because I'm mean, but because I keep asking why. And when you find out, okay, why do you want to grow your business? Well, because I want to have more time with my family. Why do you want to have more time with your family? And you keep going down and down and down and down. You can
Right.
find that bottom layer of why someone really wants to do what they want to do. And like you said earlier, it's oftentimes not something we want to look at,
Yeah. Yeah. And
but
if
it's a,
we're going, then we may realize that, oh, this is not really what I want to do,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is really scary.
Yes, that is scary because especially when we have our hearts set on something and we're like, I'm all in, this is where I'm going, this is what I'm doing. We don't want to change that because then it's not safe, right?
Right.
Oh, that's so true. Finding that deeper why. You probably hear or read all the time on podcasts and courses, various communities, that you need to do certain things or have specific processes in place to help with your business. Whether it's lead follow-up, email templates, or workflow, all of this can be so overwhelming, right? Especially when you don't know where to start. I have spent 15 years creating processes that are repeatable for my own business. And last year, I finally launched my online shop where my email templates, workflows, and questionnaires are all available for purchase. And just for my amazing podcast listeners, I have a special code available for you for 10% off of any product on the shop. Just head over to shopwithbrooke.com. Don't forget the E on the end of my name and use the code BSU podcast, like Business Straight Up Podcast, to get 10% off of any product, anything on the shop. Don't let overwhelm or all of the shoulds take precious hours of your time that you could spend with your family or doing what you really love. Check out the templates and pre-done systems that you can copy and paste and implement at shopwithbrooke.com to start rocking your marketing and your business today. How can someone, like I know how I do it, but what are some ways that you've found that you can find that deeper why so that you can really speak to that?
I mean, I think surveys are really good.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Enneagram for that reason, because once you kind of get to know each of the types, you can kind of guess who it is you're dealing with, and you can see what really is at the core of their motivation. You can also look at the Maslow's hierarchy of needs,
Yes.
really, which shows what kind of our basic needs and then what we are striving for.
Mm-hmm.
And that really, you can speak to each of those levels of needs that way.
Yes.
And data, I mean, data is, king these days, because it really reveals the inner workings and why people do what they do, or at least what they're doing.
Yes. Well, and thinking of like the surveys, as a boudoir photographer, that's my specialty. I work with women that are scantily clad. And so I have an idea in my head of what images I love. Like I'll capture an image. I'm like, this is amazing. And then my clients are like, yeah, that's cool. But look at this one. And I'm like, wait, whoa, whoa, whoa. So
Exactly. Yeah.
what they love is totally different than what I love. And I have learned that I actually, before I update my website with new photos, I put out voting for
Yeah.
images. And that is how I came to have 7 galleries on my website, because people wanted to see the smiling and laughing photos, even though I didn't ever show those off, because to me, they were kind of like, nah, whatever. And so figuring out how you can speak to someone is a lot of times so much easier than we think, but we like to make it really complicated.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think knowing your, that's where that knowing your buyer persona so well, you know, people are really uncomfortable with their bodies, you know,
Yes.
and we, you know, particularly as Westerners, we, you know, have a very specific type that we think is ideal. And
Yes.
so, you know, coming to you would be very scary
Yes.
for most women. And so to see people laughing
Yeah.
really shows that you make them comfortable in the shoot. And so
Yes.
end product may not be as important as the process.
And that never even dawned on me.
Hmm.
And because I'm looking at the light and I'm
Yeah,
looking at like the art part of it,
yeah,
and they shared with me how important that was to them. And I tell my students all the time, just ask. And they're like, well, I can't just ask. Why? Who would I ask? I said, just send out an email to your list and ask them.
yeah,
Like, if you make it easy for someone to respond, just send one question
yeah,
and say, hey, hit reply and let me know. You'd be surprised how many people will reply, because everyone wants to think their opinion matters, right?
yeah, yeah. I mean, my logo is not my favorite. Um, but what I did was I put out, um, so my graphic designer gave me like 3 options. And
Mm-hmm.
so I put out these 3 and had them vote. Now,
Yes.
I didn't just take the, you know, the one that got the most votes.
Mm-hmm.
I looked at who was voting and what
Oh,
they
yeah.
voted. And,
Yes.
you know, at the time where I was, when I was, you know, starting my company, the people that I was working with the most and that I was making the most money from
Mm-hmm.
were men business leaders,
Really?
male business leaders. Yeah. So
Wow.
I looked at those male business leaders and what they voted for
Yes.
and chose that one.
Well, and how many of us go to our friends and family and be like, which one do you like most, when they're not our ideal client?
No, no, not at all. Yeah, because your parents are going to pick Comic Sans every time, right?
Oh, you're so right. But
Yeah,
yes, they will.
and so you have to find from your target audience
Mhm.
what they like, you know.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
if your clients like the laughing shots, you need to give them the laughing shots.
I do. It actually has become the home image on my main homepage, because it was something that so many people said that really resonated with them.
Yeah,
And like you said, I kind of took, like, some people that just have opinions about everything but never really actually follow through with booking someone.
yeah,
I still valued their opinion, but not as much as my ideal clients, my repeat clients that are like, I need a shoot every year. Like, those are the women I really listen to
yeah,
because they know what they like.
yeah. And you know, I mean, that also speaks to science because when we look at smiling faces and people
Mhm.
laughing, we have mirror neurons that make us feel happy when we see someone smiling and laughing. And,
Wow.
you know, one of the things that Donald Miller says is every website should lead with a smiling face. And it doesn't have to make sense about your business at all. You could be selling, you know, microchips, but if you have a person that's smiling on there, um, your the person buying is going to feel good about your product because there's someone smiling.
That's really interesting. Isn't the brain crazy?
Yeah, yeah,
Oh my gosh. My husband asked me a while back, he said, if you like didn't have to go to school for something, like school wasn't a worry, you didn't have to worry about transitioning, what would you do? I said, probably neuroscience.
yeah. Oh, it's fascinating.
It is crazy cool. Sorry, I'm still writing Donald Miller's quote down. So I teach a website strategy course because I believe so strongly that your website is your online home.
Yeah.
and it should be amazing. And when it comes to figuring out that one tagline or one liner, that 6-word story that we were talking about, even if it's not 6 words, what have you seen work best at the top of websites or in the headers or all over the website for consistent messaging and branding?
Yeah, I love that you asked that, because I was just kind of thinking about that the other day and just saying, if I had to condense what I teach about the header of the website, it would be to address. So people are coming to you with their problems. If they're at your website, they already know what their problem is that they're coming to.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say give them what you offer and a vision of transformation.
So what does that look like for you personally?
So I offer brand marketing and brand strategy or messaging.
Mm-hmm.
We call it brand storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I offer. And the transformation looks like, I say, my tagline is best story wins.
Oh, okay.
And so I'm telling them that they're going to win if they tell better stories. And so whatever your goal is, winning is the goal, right? So, and then I have smiling faces. And
Yes.
I'm transitioned more to targeting female leaders. So now I have women on my website, a lot of women's faces on my website smiling.
Interesting. I'm trying to think of, like, for artists, the transformation, because, like, I know what I offer, but I'm trying to relate it to others too. And even things like cake decorators. How does that translate? Just sharing, like, how it creates a memory, right? How whatever you've created isn't just about the cake, it's about the memory and the emotions when someone sees it, and how exciting that can be, and how someone can boil that down for their website.
Exactly. So it's like, yeah, you are creating a moment in time, or you're setting the stage for a fairy tale, or you're, providing the sweetness that comes with,
Yes.
whatever it is you're celebrating.
Yes.
So yeah, it's more about the celebration or the event than
Right.
it is the food.
Yes.
So the story that you're telling is, hey, I make cakes so that
Mm-hmm.
you can, experience the pleasure of celebration, or
Yes.
whatever it is, so that's
Absolutely.
transformation. So when you go cake shopping, you don't have this, aching problem, right? You just need a cake,
Yes. Yes.
So I want cake that will, taste good, look beautiful, but
Mm-hmm.
also elevate my experience.
Yes.
Take it to the next level.
Yes. And I love that you said what you offer and the transformation, because I feel like so many, I've seen this especially with wedding photographers, when they talk about what they do, they're like, creating lasting legacies for a lifetime. And I'm like, but what do you do?
What do you do? Yeah.
Because that's so vague and ethereal that you're like, I
Yeah.
don't get it. Talk to me like
Well,
I'm 5.
yeah. Well, I think a good litmus test for that is if on your header, it could work for any industry,
Mm.
then it's not the right header.
Ooh,
Like,
that's good.
so creating a lasting legacy, that could be a photographer. That could be,
An author.
a, a DNA specialist. I mean,
Yes.
it could be for a surrogate, company, or whatever it is. I mean, it can work for so many. Like, I hate business solutions. A lot of people say, yeah, offering business solutions for the millennial company. It's like, well, do you sell paper or technology? I don't know.
Or
Yeah,
Clorox wipes. Yeah.
exactly.
I
Exactly.
love that. So if your one-liner, tagline, headline, whatever, fits any industry, it's not specific enough.
It's a bomb.
I love that. I feel like that's going to be a quote for sure. I love it. That is so, it's so true. So many people just want to slap something on and have it fit for everyone. And if it fits for everyone, it's not going to fit for the right people.
Right. And if you're telling multiple stories on your homepage,
Mm,
there's going to be a lot of confusion. So just tell one story.
yes. What about someone who does more than one thing and has them all on one website? How can they compartmentalize that? So, for instance, someone who does birth photography and wedding photography. I don't know if anyone that does that, but let's say they did.
Yeah, yeah.
What if they do both? Like, do they have different taglines on different pages, or what would that look like?
Yeah, I mean, I would say you tell your main story on the first page to someone who is maybe that person that is for wedding and for babies.
Mm-hmm.
You would the hero of that story is wanting somebody like a photographer who's going to be there for all events of their life.
Yes.
And so, um, you could say, just like your personal photographer,
Yeah.
you know,
Part of the family.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you're your photojournalist for the important moments in your life, and then you would separate it into categories or specific times, and I would even say, oh, that's a great opportunity to open it up to one or two more, niches, and like
Yes.
you do marriage, you know, um, birth, and then you do the first year, or,
Yes.
so you give this like photographer for families,
Yes.
growing families. So
Yes.
something like that.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's so important to remember that we need to be more specific. And even if you have like your first entry point being a little more vague, you can still niche it down within those. And so many people forget that, for instance, I am a boudoir photographer. That is what I do. That is what I specialize in. That is all you will see on my website.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit of glamour, but you're not going to find babies. You're not
Yeah,
going to find weddings, but it doesn't mean I don't do them. Just
exactly.
because you don't market for something doesn't mean you don't do it. It just means you're
Exactly.
super specific in your marketing.
Yeah. And I would probably, encourage that person that did weddings and babies
Mm-hmm.
to choose one that is their,
Their love.
that their one love that they're going.
Yes.
And really, the way I help them determine that is by looking at their revenue and saying it's easier to grow what's already working
Yes.
than to grow what's not. So let's just make that your hero and stick with that. And then, on some inner pages, you can put the birth or
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever it is. But yeah, my husband is a photographer, and he really struggles with obeying me. Um, and and
Mm-hmm.
his website, I think, really needs work because
Yeah.
he continues to want to hold on to his fine art photography. And I really think they should just be separate pages, because he has corporate
Yeah.
events
Yeah.
and photography. So
That's so hard, especially when, as an artist, something really feeds your soul,
yeah,
but it doesn't necessarily do what you want it to on the business side. It's really hard to make that choice.
yeah.
Oh,
So, and one of the things he can do for corporate photography is, you know, if he leads at his offering is he's a corporate photographer,
mm-hmm.
he could then subcategorize as like, making your corporate space look good by buying these fine art pieces
That's true.
that
Yeah.
go in office spaces, so,
Yeah.
but again, he won't listen to me.
It's okay. Mine doesn't listen either, but what are you
What are
going
you
to do?
going to do?
Can't control him, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your insight with us today, Sarah. I know that storytelling and figuring out what the heck to say in marketing is something that my students struggle with, and I'm willing to bet there are listeners out there that feel the same way. even if they haven't said so. So where can people find you, find out more about you, what you offer, and how can they get in touch with you?
Okay, so my website, like you said again, is Braud Creative, and you pronounce my last name
I'm
without the.
sorry.
It's okay. This is a very common way that my name is pronounced because I say my husband comes from. I should probably not say this on tape,
That's
but
okay.
I say illiterate Cajuns. So,
Oh,
um, so it's like the Braud
yes.
translates as bro.
Okay.
So it's French Cajun. And so it's Braud creative.com.
Okay.
And you can also find me on LinkedIn, Sarah Bro.
Perfect.
And yeah, you can just shoot me an email. There is a contact form on my website as well. I believe as my email is listed there too.
Perfect.
Sarah@brocreative.com.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate your time. I love what you have to offer. I feel like even though storytelling is not something that I specialize in, I know the importance of it. And I know that I continue to tell my students how important it is. And so many of them are like, yeah. But I'm like, no, you really don't understand. This is something that you need to look at.
Exactly. It really is. Best story wins.
It does. It absolutely does. Because what is going to make someone stand up and say, oh my gosh, girl, me too? Or what is going to make someone remember you? It's not the best logo.
It's not.
So
unless your logo tells a really good story.
Yeah, that's true. I'm trying to think of
There
any
are
logos.
storytellers.
That's true. I didn't think about that. For anyone listening, if you loved this content and you're like, hell yes, Sarah and Brooke, and you are the type of person that likes to help other people, can you please head on over to iTunes and leave a review? I know that it seems like something that's so small and silly, but those reviews mean the world to podcasters. It only takes a minute and it helps us to know what you need help with so that we can better serve you in the future. So as always, full show notes can be found at businessstraightedup.com/podcast, as well as Sarah's links. Everything all about her will be there as well. And if you had a particular takeaway or aha during this episode, I would love to know it. Take a screenshot of you listening or a selfie outside in your bath. I don't care what, well, keep it social media appropriate, whatever floats your boat, but post it on Instagram, tag me at Business Straight Up, all one word. Yes, there are 3 S's right in a row. If you tag me in a post or screenshot your iTunes review, I have a special free gift for you. So send it over to hello@businessstraightup.com and we'll send over a free gift for you. I can't wait to see your business grows. I'm sorry. I said that wrong. I can't wait to see your business grow in ways that you have never dreamed of and how your amazing gift changes the world. Thank you so much, Sarah. Until next time, have an amazing day, everyone.
Thanks, Brooke.
Thank you so much for listening to Business Straight Up. I'm so glad that you could join us today. Check out the show notes for this and all of the episodes at businessstraightuppodcast.com. And I can't wait to talk with you again. Have a great day.